and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I'm your host, Adam Portress, and joining me today, he'll be doggone if you're going to call him a primitive screwhead, Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
I'm wondering if Duke Nukem, the Duke Nukem game, have they been sued by the makers of Army of Darkness?
I think there's been some questions back and forth over the years, I believe. Yeah,
I would say that 90% of that video game character's dialogue is completely, just absolutely lifted from this movie.
Not even.
I would believe it.
And he'll swallow your soul, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear. And guess which line from this movie I said on my honeymoon?
Ooh. If he does the ugly one, then his wife hit him with a frying pan and he flew across the room, very Sam Raimi style, because this week, everybody, we are talking about Army of Darkness. Holy cow. We decided to... After the fantasy of last month, what do we call last fantasy
Fall Festival. Fall Fantasy
the
Festival.
Fall Fantasy Festival, and then we don't want to go over into, what are we calling this one again? I want to make sure I
Super Scary October.
Super
It's
Scary
trademarked.
October.
I've trademarked Super Scary.
TM right there at the top.
Yeah.
But you don't want to transition between those 2 months super fast. You're going to get whiplash. You're going to hurt yourself. And we don't want you hurting yourself. We want you to stay calm, cool, collected, and without one of those big giant neck braces that they always did in all the sitcoms. Those were the best, weren't they? So we're going to do Army of Darkness this week, the third in the Evil Dead movies and stuff like that, because it's got a little bit of the fantasy, a little bit of the horror. Nice little transitional movie for us until we get into our scary time. I got to write it down. If I don't write it down, I'm never going to remember it. It's too complicated.
Super scary October.
Super Scary October. It rolls off the tongue so fast. I don't know what my problem is.
Yeah, says the guy who created the name Hero Movie Podcast.
Hey, here's the thing. In 5 years, when we run out of these superhero movies, that's why we kept it just at Hero. That way we could just do anything. Don't think that I didn't think about this nary a decade ago when we came up with this bullcrap. Believe you me, I thought ahead of time. I'm like,
remember I wanted to call it 2021 because that's how far out Marvel was at the time.
I also, oh man, I had the dumbest idea I've had in a while when I wanted to do Rocktober, but you guys talked me out of it.
Well, you never know.
You're welcome.
Speaking of you're welcome, we want to say a big thank you, actually, to the people over at patreon.com/HMP. Those awesome people get their pre-show, post-show Dinger Zone. And, of course, it is a brand new month here, so just want to say a big, giant thank you to all of those people that support us up at that icon level. We got Derek, Matt, and Tim coming in at that level. And, of course, the $20 executive level, Alex, Brian, Jens, Jessica, Larry, Nate, Noah. You guys are absolutely awesome. And, of course, everybody...
Fantastic, guys. Thank you so much.
Came in at like the $5 level and all that kind of good stuff. The best part about this show is that, we don't want to sit here and have to take advertisers that we don't care about their products. We know that you don't care about their products.
Adam doesn't. Let's be honest. Adam doesn't, which is okay.
It is okay. It's okay. It's absolutely
I'm
okay.
saying that's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like, that's why no one has ever put up a stink about it.
Yeah.
But
at the same time, too, there are people that we do get unsolicited emails every now and then going, hey, would you like to sponsor the blah, 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 blah. And I put the number in there and I go, you have to give us at least as much as we're making on Patreon. If not, I don't want it. And they never call back. They never call back.
Tell you, Patreon is a great service, man. It keeps creative stuff like this going. My YouTube channel is kept entirely afloat by Patreon too. So nice. I totally get where you're coming from, Adam, because advertising dollars, you just can't count on them.
So we got two new HMP supporters. They've been waiting in the wings here a little bit. We were going to do it last week, but Sean was on the road, and we want to give these people the due respect that they are so well-deserved, having become members of the HMP family. Who do you want to start with first, Sean?
Let's go with Michael W.
Alrighty.
And although it's not traditional, I'm going to start with this because I did write bits for both of these. Mm-hmm. So I happen to have a prepared statement.
Oh, here. My.
Oh, nice.
Michael W., whose last name we're withholding because people are creeps, has put his money down on us, and it's time to give him an official HMP nickname. Now, Michael, I don't know your history with nicknames, but as someone who grew up in an area of the country where nicknames are prevalent, I know that being stuck with a bad nickname can be a nightmare. just like my college friend Doo-Doo Man. Real kid.
I've heard it before, and it's still funny every time.
Yep. Guess how we got that name? Nope. Let's not do that now. And a kid I knew in high school that was morbidly obese, and his nickname was Skinny.
Oh.
Now, I don't take this task lightly. So I did some half-ass internet research and found out, Michael, that your surname is the 43rd 814th most common surname in the world.
Oh.
Most people with your surname originate from Sri Lanka. And in China, there is a 1 in 683,660,783% chance that someone will have your same last name, which are worse odds than winning the Powerball by almost 4 million. And yet, 2 people in China still have your same last name. Now, Michael, I looked around for some Michael W's on social media, and I found 2. One is a former Marine, and one is a guy who lives in Long Beach. Now, I don't know if you're either one of those guys, but because of these reasons, I have come to a decision. And Michael W., I am glad to announce that from this point forward, you'll forever be known around the HMP campus as Bullhorn, because Bullhorn was the G.I. Joe character that was a Marine and saw a lot of beach action. So we're covering both bases. Congratulations, Bullhorn, and welcome to HMP.
Bullhorn. Very nice. And now we got Nicholas A here up for round for our second round.
That's right. And Nicholas Alexander M, we're going to call him. Nicholas Alexander M. So, Nicholas, I usually do a bunch of legwork for HMP nicknames, trying to give people a little razzle-dazzle, a little show. Let them know how important you are, that you've taken the time to listen to us and invested your money into our hive of scum and villainy. But here's the thing. Your nickname, it's staring us right in the face. You have an awesome name already, and it's stupid of us to try and swim upstream when you have already been given the gift of a cool name. So, Nicholas, from this point forward, you'll forever be known around the HMP campus as Nick AMC. And Nick, you should know this. I'm nicknaming you after the American Motor Company, not the theater chain. When old people like Bruce Adam and myself talk about AMC, someone is going to name check the AMC Pacer, which is the car from Wayne's World, and the Gremlin, which is a boxy, weird-looking 70s car. But AMC also made some of my favorite cars of all time, like the AMC Eagle and the Javelin and the Hornet. And the best Jeeps ever made were made by AMC. And they're so unbelievably cool that even someone who isn't a car guy, because I am not a car guy, looks at these cars and says, man, that's awesome. That's a really cool car. So congratulations, Nick AMC, and welcome to HMP. And thank you.
When you said AMC, I heard AMF.
Oh,
When you hear AMF.
bowling.
Yeah, bowling. And for a while, they owned Harley Davidson. It was like the weirdest company that owned bowling alleys and Harley Davidson.
Wow, that is strange.
Listen, they show up someplace. What are you going to do? You're going to bowl. Why not? You know, seems to make sense to me. So if you would like to be like Bullhorn or Nick AMC, head on down to patreon.com/HMP. Get the pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. Get yourself a nickname and all that kind of fancy stuff. And if you can't do that, drop on down to the iTunes. Give us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger.
And boys, this is going to be the first time that you have heard about this. We're dropping... we've talked about it for a while. We're going to be dropping some merch available right now as we speak. The first Dirty Babies merch is available.
Oh, tell me more. I got to hear about the Dirty Baby.
If you check your text message right now, that is our first image.
Nice.
For those of you that can't see, and of course there'll be a link in the show notes and everything. It's a little baby with some stubble. He's got himself a big old giant scar on his face. He's smoking some cigarettes. They're Dirty Baby brand cigarettes, by the way. And if
I love it.
Can you zoom in on the warnings on the package? I hope these come off in the print.
That's really awesome. Smoking may cause cancer and a higher risk of looking like a real BA.
I love it.
Awesome.
Smoking by kids is wrong, but if you're gonna be a kid and smoke, you should do it behind your trailer. Oh, I love it. Now this dirty baby is in fact dirty.
Oh yeah, he's dirty. He's a filthy baby, as a matter of fact.
I do think some people may recognize there's a little inspiration there, but all the best art.
There is, and there's going to be. This is the first in a couple. I've got another one in the works. Let's just say, it's just going to be. It's a copper tone summer. That's all I'll say about the next one.
Oh, I can't wait to see how nasty that dirty baby is.
So, the third idea is that they should look. There should be a garbage pail kid of the three of us.
Oh, that's.
But instead of saying garbage pail kids, it says dirty babies.
So,
yes, that is what we need to. That's our ultimate. Like that's something that I might actually have to commission that.
Yeah,
I'll have to find the right person to do the dirty baby artwork because that is something I want to get. So I'd say like maybe 3 feet by 6 feet hanging up on the wall.
Of course. So if you
3 feet by 6 feet, man, that's some carrot top stuff right there. Oh my Lord.
You thought the other things in his house were weird. If you'd like to get some of your Dirty Babies merch, and here's the best part. It's on everything from t-shirts to pillows to phone cases to tote bags, you name it. Hoodies, it's getting a little bit colder. Get yourself a Dirty Baby hoodie and wear it around your trailer park in glorious style. Links for that will be in the show notes. All right, boys, let's get into it. Here is the trailer for Army of Darkness.
In an age of darkness.
May God have mercy upon your souls.
Something's wrong. Something's amiss.
And a time of evil.
You shall die!
When the world needed a hero.
The swallow us all. I don't want to die!
What it got was him.
Groovy. You know your shoelace is untied.
He's a 20th century guy.
For that arrogance, I shall see you dead.
Trapped in the Middle Ages.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. This is my boomstick.
Now, let's talk about how I get back home.
Foretold by a mystical book.
Within its pages are passages that can send you back to your time.
Forewarned by a wise man.
You must recite the words Klaatu, Berata, Nikto.
I got it.
Fulfilled by a wise guy.
Klaatu, Berata.
When thou spoke the words, the army of the dead awoke.
Now he's got a date.
Give me some sugar, baby.
With the Army of Darkness.
You found me beautiful once.
Honey, you got real ugly.
Sound the trumpets. Raise the drawbridge. Drop the Oldsmobile. From Sam Raimi.
Oh, that's gonna hurt.
Director of Darkman. Comes Army of Darkness. They live. They breathe. They suck. Army of Darkness.
All right, that was a trailer for Army of Darkness. You know what time it is.
It's time for Bruce's Comic Book Connection.
Oh, Bruce, what do we got?
First, I just want to take a minute and talk about that trailer, man. I usually tune out when you're playing the trailers. I love that one. Do you have any idea who the music is in that trailer?
Not sure.
Metal music. Oh man, that's like the most perfect trailer to listen to. Well, anyway, back on topic. Army of Darkness comic books have been going off and on for about 30 years. That's from 1992 until present day. And when I say that, I don't mean Evil Dead comics or Ash comics in general. I mean specifically, the Army of Darkness setting has been a popular place for comics for 30 years. And why wouldn't it, right? Because the combination of Middle Ages, over-the-top horror, and comedy, well, that seems like a magic recipe for some good indie comics. And indie comics have been where Army of Darkness has not only lived, but thrived. First published by Dark Horse, Army of Darkness made its way to its current home, Dynamite, by way of Devil's Due. In a 30-year history, some noteworthy storylines can show up, like the time Ash got married, or the time Ash went to space, or even that one time when Ash saved Obama, then decided to run for president himself. There have also been some great crossovers, like Darkman versus Army of Darkness, Army of Darkness versus Reanimator, or Army of Darkness / Bubba Hotep. Now, a comic does make it across 3 decades and 3 publishers without being pretty good. And I guess what I meant to say is a comic doesn't make it across 3 decades and 3 publishers without being pretty good. And Army of Darkness is good enough to win awards. It won not 1, but 2, count them, 2 Spike TV Scream Awards.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's the only awards I could find that it had ever won, but awards aren't everything, you know?
I do remember those awards, though.
And if you haven't read any Army of Darkness comics, there's usually various collected editions available at your local comic shop. And I think Dynamite has released 3 omnibuses, though I don't know how easy or difficult those are to find. But a nice thing about Army of Darkness comics is that you can probably like dive into any volume or issue you run across. It's not the sort of thing where you need to start at the beginning, you know? Like you don't have to be ear deep in continuity to grasp Ash's over-the-top humor and action style. And speaking of action style, Adam, do you have a list?
Oh, yeah. If that list wasn't enough for you, let me get everybody in on this third of the Evil Dead series because this sucker's got everything. We've got Bruce Campbell, yet another recap of the other Evil Dead movies. Mr. Pitt from Seinfeld drops in. We got Ray Harryhausen stop motion, Gulliver's Travels. Pretty sure Game of Thrones is just aping this entire movie, I'm going to be honest with you. We got hand chopping, glove wearing, face stretching, incantations in Canton, stabbing, body tossing, bones busting, catapulting, dame kissing, Three Stooges bit early K&B work. And if you didn't know, 5 minutes in, this is a Sam Raimi film. This movie has everything.
Man, guys, if I'm going to show my hand pretty early here, but I think this might be the best one.
Really? So
that's surprising too. That's surprising hearing that from you, quite honestly.
Really?
Yes.
You don't think that I would like this one?
Oh, I think that you love this one, but I would imagine because you're such a horror guy that I just thought that you had, Evil Dead 2 up on a shelf like most horror fans do.
Evil Dead 2 is really good, but I'm also a fantasy fan, and this really brings those worlds together. I mean, I love the medieval setting, the historical fiction setting. So that's why, I think this to me might be peak Raimi.
This is definitely the most Raimi movie we've ever gotten. It doesn't get more Raimi than this movie.
And it only had an $11 million budget, so it's not like that's a huge budget. But the Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 look like they were shot on 8mm and 16mm, and he finally got the 35mm here. So it just looks bigger. But it also looks like I'm not saying I would have the same kind of style or I would be as entertaining, but it looks like if I had some money and really tried to make a legit movie, I think what I make would be similar to this in a lot of ways. Like I said, definitely not as good or as stylistic, but this is the kind of vibe that I would dream to be able to do. I'm watching this and I'm just sitting here thinking, man, I wish I could make this.
Well, this is the second Sam Raimi movie I ever saw.
Was Darkman your first one?
Darkman was the first one. And weirdly, because I saw Darkman in high school and I just immediately knew what he was going for, what this filmmaker was going for. And so I wanted to see more of his stuff. And correct me if I'm wrong, Army of Darkness comes out after Darkman, right?
Yes, Darkman. Mm-hmm. Darkman is what got him the budget to make this. Because Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 money, you cannot make a period piece film.
Right. And I'm remembering so I'm remembering it correctly because I saw Darkman and then I saw Army of Darkness in the movie theater. The thing about this movie is this. You have basically 3 very creative people working on this movie. But because the budget is so limited, you have 3 very creative people who are also working as hard as they possibly can to get Raimi's vision on screen. And so these 3 people literally are just working around the clock to make this movie happen.
And that's why I've got this nostalgia. I mean, 93 that's almost 30 years ago now. It's crazy to think about 92 when the movie was made. But I've got this nostalgia for what I'll call a De Laurentiis budget, or these things that are made for that $10 to $15 million range. So they got enough money that they got to look professional, but they can't just have everything they want, and that's what really, I think, helps squeeze the creativity out because you got enough resources to work with, but you don't have easy answers to everything. And I think that makes for some really fun movies like this one.
when I've seen this movie several times, but I hadn't seen this movie like with the adult eyes that I have now. I probably haven't watched this movie in 15 years.
I had a jar full of adult eyes when I saw it the first time.
So when I saw it this time, all I could see was just how difficult the shooting had to have been on this show.
Oh yeah.
There isn't a single frame of this movie where it's just people talking. There's always something happening either in the background, or there's a very intricate visual effects thing that's happening when you pan around, especially when the Evil Dead shows up. I mean, I can't even imagine how long those shooting days must have been. They must have been going for 20 hours a day, because there are skeletons in the deeper background, there's people, but like wearing skeleton costumes. But this is such a labor of love, quite honestly. And it just shows up on screen when you see it. And it's why the people who love this movie so much, is you can see it coming through the screen.
And it's like a different kind of Tarantino. It's a different kind of nostalgia that Sam Raimi, I mean, like you said, Adam, he's putting the Three Stooges in here. He's putting other stuff that Gulliver's Travels he's putting in there. We got Lilliputians that show up. So, it is like a love letter to his kind of nostalgia and his storytelling, but he's he's an older guy from a different era. And I kind of like seeing it all pour through. Plus Bruce Campbell. I mean, why doesn't every actor just bring that much energy to every role? The world couldn't handle it. That's why the world would be awesome then.
I'm going to say something that is not shocking, but I'm going to make it seem like it's shocking, which is that if Bruce Campbell were born 25 years later, he would be the biggest star in the world now.
Oh yeah, he'd have that like Ryan Reynolds level kind of star.
Yes.
Yeah. Plus, he seems like the kind of guy that, if he were born at the right time, would be pretty savvy on social media. Whereas right now he's like playing the grandpa card. I don't even know which end of my calculator Twitter's on, kind of thing is the stuff.
Right. But he has that ironic detachment that most Marvel actors have.
Yeah.
But two, that is just prevalent everywhere now in pop culture. And he's kind of the first instance of that happening, right?
How did he get pigeonholed into the career he had? I feel like he should have had a bigger career than he did. Well, not that his career's not wonderful, you know what I mean? But it's like he's
I'll put a little posit. One of his kind of problems in Hollywood, and this isn't his fault, is he's too damn tall. He's a very tall guy, and in Hollywood, he's going at like, I think he's like 6'3", 6'4". He's a big dude. He's gonna tower over most ladies, and so like you're gonna limit your leading ladies a whole lot then. And I think that's at least an element of it. Is that like?
And Adam, you read If Chins Could Kill, right?
Years and years and years ago, yeah.
Because I just finished it maybe 6 months ago. And the big story from him seems to be, Bruce, to answer your question here, is that he was up for a lot of roles. It's just that he was sort of kind of unwilling to play the game after he didn't get the role in The Shadow, because it was up to him and Alec Baldwin.
Ooh, and you're not in 1990, like you're not getting bigger than Alec Baldwin in that era. It's just not going to happen.
But that's what I'm saying, is that after that happened, he kind of said to himself, you know what, I'm gonna stop playing this Hollywood game, and I'm gonna make the movies I want to make.
I mean, it sounds kind of ridiculous, but I was like wondering if he had a drinking problem or something. Just because.
No, not at all. In fact, that's another thing about this movie that Bruce Campbell mentions in the documentary of the making of Army of Darkness, which is that you couldn't have bad habits working on Sam Raimi movies.
On a schedule, yeah.
Because the schedule is so demanding that there's literally no time to misbehave, because you have to work all the time. And so a lot of the people who come through that Raimi camp end up being totally sober.
And I don't want to just Jim Carrey, super massive career. super massive career. I mean, the guy's had crazy success. But I'm watching this movie again for what must be the 20th time. And I can't help but think, like, especially now watching it through my modern lens, like Bruce Campbell would have been better at some roles that went to Jim Carrey, but Jim Carrey could open a movie. He could open the box office. Yeah. It's not about who gives the best performance. And that just kind of bummed me out. But I'm just like watching Bruce Campbell here. And, you know, he had chances, but he never really pushed through. And I don't know if it's because, like I said, he started in, was this still a time in Hollywood? You start in some genre stuff like Maniac Cop and Evil Dead.
Here's the thing too, though, right? Is that like he kind of cut his teeth with Raimi and Evil Dead and everything, and they're doing stuff for nickels and dimes and like just for the honest to God love of the thing when there was nothing coming of it. And so when you get to that point where you're just like someone goes, "Oh, well, you can play this game, but all the rules are different over here this time." That's gonna ruffle some feathers, I think, at least to some degree, of just being like, hey, I kind of want to do my own thing.
Like, I feel like he should be at the point where there's some stuff that he wouldn't need to audition for. Like, people would say, you know who would be perfect for this, and call him up and ask him if he wants it. And I don't think that really happened to him much.
Okay, let me hit that one first, and then we'll go backwards. So here's the thing that I don't understand, is that now he is such a known quantity. I mean, even with the gatekeepers in Hollywood, they know who Bruce Campbell is. Yeah. So I don't understand why, you know, if you have a part like Pizza Papa in Spider-Man, why you're not. It just seems like it's such an easy layup to have him in those roles. So I don't know why he's not getting those roles other than from Sam Raimi. Now that's part one of this. Part two of this. We got to go backwards for a second. I love Bruce Campbell as much as you do. However, the difference between Bruce Campbell and Jim Carrey, the biggest difference, is that Jim Carrey is someone who knows how to write a joke, knows how to tell a joke, and knows how to sell it to an audience. And Bruce Campbell has two of those three things, but not all three things.
Yeah, I see that.
And so, you know, what Jim Carrey does is so specific to Jim Carrey that at this point now, when you see someone else doing it, you're going, well, that person's kind of being Jim Carrey here. And that's something that Bruce Campbell also does not have.
In all fairness, I guess I will say at least Bruce Campbell's career, I think, has been better than Matt Frewer's, but Matt Frewer's was able to stretch across a couple different genres and filmmakers. And I feel like, you know, Bruce Campbell's kind of had this one gig that's mostly kept him going.
Yeah, I think that if you're going to have, you remember my Old Man movie idea about the two cops, and it was Keith David and Zedmore from Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
I think that
I call him Winston, but yeah,
Winston. I think that you
Ernie
can have Ernie Hudson. Thank you.
We're all going. Wait a minute. What's his name again?
I think that you can do the same thing with the two people we just mentioned. You can have an old buddy cop movie with Matt Frewer and Bruce Campbell, and I think everyone's on board for it.
Ooh. Evil Dead meets Lawnmower Man
should make a buddy cop movie. Keith David and David Keith together. I would watch that all day long.
One's just drawing the entire time.
All right. So when in 1993, I could have sworn this came out in 92, but when
it says 92 on IMDb, so I don't know where you're getting
the theatrical release I saw was 93, I thought.
I don't know.
Well, anyway, 92 I like, because 92 is what fits in my head, because I was still in high school for a bit in 92, and I feel like I went and saw this when I was still in high school, and everybody I knew, like, this is the first Sam Raimi movie I ever saw in the theater. And for all my friends, it was the same way. First one we'd seen in the theater, because we didn't drag ourselves out to see Darkman, but we had found Evil Dead 2, on VHS. And like you suspected, Sean, we loved it. Mm-hmm. Loved to quote the stuff. Swallow your soul was something we loved to say to each other when we were playing basketball. I'm going to swallow your soul. Mm-hmm. But when this came out, like, we loaded up in my Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme, and we cruised 45 minutes, 30 miles away to the old Fugates Entertainment Center in Hazard, Kentucky. And we went and watched this in the theater. First Sam Raimi movie I'd seen in the theater. To me, I felt like everybody I knew saw this movie in the theater. Of course, I only knew like 7 people, so it's not that big a deal. But when I saw the box office was only 21 million, I was surprised, because this had like the pop culture penetration of something like Austin Powers in my friend group and my social circle there back in Kentucky. And I mean, like the way people would, get really obnoxious with those Austin Power lines. I mean, we were hitting the Army of Darkness lines hard. I mean, we had our, the big ones. You're a goody two shoes was one we loved to say to one another. You're a goody two shoes. And then, we also, the boomstick is obvious. You got real ugly. Give me some sugar, baby. I haven't dated a girl in my life since this movie came out that hasn't gotten sick of hearing that.
Sure.
And of course, groovy, just straight up groovy is good. I'm a bad Ash and you're a good Ash. So all those lines were just great. And I don't know, how does the 100-mile-an-hour humor hit you, Sean? You tend to be a little more discriminating, and I kind of like the shotgun method. I like the acting for the back of the.
It's like Bruce's favorite bit in this is the holding up the hand and then the two skeleton poking each eye. Like I feel like
love that.
I feel
yes,
like that's
I love that.
Absolutely your favorite bit.
My favorite bit though was not that. My favorite bit was when the Lilliputians came out of the mirror and then they jumped down his throat. He drinks the scalding water and he's doing everything to try to get the guy in his belly, and then the whole second ash grows out of his shoulder. I love that whole rundown all the way to the fight at the end of it.
And that eyeball looks better than the eyeball in Doctor Strange, just saying.
Well, I will say that is one of the things that that is a horrifying moment in this movie. It still works too. Because when I was a kid and saw it, I was like, that is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. And it's still disgusting. It's still awful. I love it. I mean, it's an amazing moment. I will tell you, to answer your question, some of the humor does fall over to my side. Yes. But it's about the execution of your bit. And it's about how much these people love putting on a show. Because that's really what even this movie feels like. Whereas I think that something got lost along the way with Raimi after Spider-Man, where you don't really get that feel anymore.
Spider-Man 3 swallowed his soul, to borrow one of his own terms there. Do you think it was a tough experience for him?
Do you think so? Because there's some of that homemadeness, like love of the craft, that is missing from like Oz the Great and Powerful. Or
here's the thing, like you said, that this is an $11 million movie that is medieval, that is shot 99% on backlot.
It's all in Southern California.
It's all in the desert.
Yeah,
and none of this is in a backlot. This is in the desert, dude.
Yeah, this is in Southern California, and in 1992, I didn't appreciate it quite so much because I'd never been to Europe. But yeah, when I was watching it this weekend, it was pretty clear these cats are not in Europe. Like, no, not even close to Europe. They couldn't at least go like shoot in Vancouver or something that looks a little more European.
Well, they even again for the documentary of this movie, they had one tree. They had one tree that they moved around constantly.
I'm kind of surprised with this being a De Laurentiis production. Did De Laurentiis still own that thing in Wilmington in '93?
Probably. Yeah, not probably. Yes, he absolutely did in '93.
Because I'm so shocked they didn't try to make this around Wilmington, because that would have looked a little more European. You got a sea, you got all kinds of stuff.
My guess, though, is that the your Raimi, your Campbell, your whatever that producer's name is that I can't ever remember, those three were not willing to go to Wilmington for that.
Finally, they were like, we got the success berries now, because Wadesboro, North Carolina is where they did a lot of they used the high school, the Wadesboro High School gym as their sound stage to do a whole lot of the cabin work for Evil Dead 2. So I would think it might be familiar with North Carolina.
Oh, and I still always have to mention, I can't believe I didn't drop this little nugget, because it's the only flag my little hometown in Tennessee could actually have anything against, is the first Evil Dead was shot there, at least partially. Morristown, Tennessee, pretty much all the like outside cabin stuff and all that.
I knew it was somewhere in eastern Tennessee, right?
Yeah, it's about a little central-ish.
Okay, I was thinking it was a little more like Chattanooga area.
Yeah, it's right closer. I don't know. I'm
like
terrible
Nashville's solid middle Tennessee, so
yeah, it's a little.
I figured you have a little more mountains out there. But anyway,
but yeah. So I always like that kind of just a fun little thing for me to just go, hey, I've done nothing in my entire life, but I was born in a place where they shot Evil Dead a year prior to my being there. So
I can't even recall the last time we watched a movie that passed the phone test as strongly as this one. There is not. This movie, like, this is a movie where you got to pee before the movie starts.
Can I tell you this? You're 100% right. And one of the big things is the reason why that is, I think, in part, is this has a very fast running time, and it books.
Well, hold on. because there is a little bit of sleight of hand for this movie, because the opening of this movie is amazing and the end of this movie is amazing, but there are parts in the middle where it does slog for people like me. So like, I don't find the Little Ashes particularly fun. Like when you first see them,
you wound me.
when they're first on screen, I was like, oh, right. There's like 10 of them. Like I totally forgot that part. But then it goes on and it goes on and it goes on. And I was like, man, okay. Like it's that for me, that's a phone that's a pick up the phone moment.
I think that was the middle of the picture set piece. I think that was their big halfway through the script set piece too.
The lighthouse. Yeah.
But oh man, scalding hot water.
So what?
the acting that Bruce Campbell is giving me, he should have got an Academy Award just for drinking that scalding water, because I believe the man was not only crazy but suffering.
Oh, right, Bruce, I just got an email. This was from Bruce Campbell. It says checks in the mail. What does that mean? Do you know?
I'm telling you, Bruce Campbell might be the best actor that's lived in a long time. Like seriously, the energy he brings to it. Like if you can't, you know what? Some rules I've lived by, and this is no surprise to you. You guys have heard me say this before, but what I lack in talent, I try to make up for it with enthusiasm.
Right.
And Bruce Campbell brings enthusiasm to his performance.
And you know, that is one of the things that I do have to say about this movie, is that you have very creative people working very hard. And, you know, the fact of the matter is, you know, if you're a very creative person, sometimes your movie is crap because you just didn't try hard enough. And sometimes you try really hard, but you don't have a whole lot of talent. And so to have these movies where you're seeing very creative people work very hard, it's just such a love letter to fans. And I think this is the last one that really feels like that to me of the Sam Raimi movies.
And some of the stop motion creature effects here, they had both the budget and technology to make those smoother, but it was like Raimi wanted that Harryhausen homage.
He did
some of that, and I think that's kind of a cool move. And it also still reminds you of the micro budget background he comes from.
He also wanted Bruce Campbell to do like a can dance with the stop motion skeletons.
Awesome.
But for some reason it didn't work out. But it was one of the things that Raimi said to Campbell before they started shooting.
Go
ahead.
There's some scenes too where I don't know if they were running short of money or time, or if those are just two words for the same thing in Hollywood. But there's a part too where suddenly, instead of fighting the skeletons, it's just guys with masks on, you know, when he's up on that wall there near the end of the movie.
Well, I mean, you know, that they kind of have to, you know, I mean,
especially when you got that many people there.
Right. And it works. It still works. You know, I think having the skeleton play the bone flute, you know, like
I love the bone flute. It's so
me too, man. Me too. I think it's wonderful. But I also think that when you're devoting that kind of time to a scene, you're gonna have to cut time somewhere else. And I think that speaks to why in certain scenes you see more people than you do skeletons, you know.
What'd you think about the main villain, the big bad?
Oh, I love him. I think he's great.
Who was under the makeup on that?
It's Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And like you
look at roles and still didn't get
played a lot more than 2 roles.
Yeah, there was a lot.
But he didn't get the coveted what was that, Spike Scream Award or whatever that was called.
But
should have.
I love the makeup for that.
Yeah.
Like it's just that beautiful K&B, and you can tell like this is like I don't know if this
It
is their
is great
official
makeup, man.
first
Like,
K&B one or not, but it's one of the early.
It looks so good. It looks as good as you would have from 10 times this budget now. Like I love the makeup on that villain.
Well, again, you have people who know what they're doing with lighting. You know, I think the lighting in this movie is just amazing. You know,
I was fixated on the prosthetics and the makeup, and I think you're right that I don't always appreciate that, but the lighting goes a long way, I bet, on that.
You know, I mean, just think of man, I can't even say her name without without ruining our rating here. But the pit lady, you know, the pit lady doesn't look that great, except she does because of the lighting of the movie.
Yeah, I
You
know
know,
what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah, and I think that, man, what is Adam? Do you remember the name of the cinematographer on this movie?
Not on this one.
Bill Pope.
Bill Pope. Yes, from The Matrix. Bill Pope
Yes.
and director of V for Vendetta. Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Yeah, and
impressive resume there for Pope.
well,
he's a big guy. He's one of them big ones.
yeah. And I mean, you know, like he just knows what he's doing. He also was cinematographer for Baby Driver. Like, I mean, he knows what he is doing. He's one of those guys.
Yeah.
And so, you know, to have him basically just kind of plug in with these guys, and also to be someone who's as creative as he is and as talented as he is and as hard of a worker as he is, you know, it's I know I keep saying it, but I'm not made of stone, man. Like this, you know,
It's so good.
I don't know how you can be a nerd and not like this movie. I at the very least, just have warm feelings towards this movie.
And
How do you guys think this movie works as a standalone?
Oh, perfectly.
I think
I
that
watched
does
this
too.
movie before I ever saw any of the Evil Dead
I think
movies.
that's
And it
one
worked
of the-
perfectly.
The beautiful things about this is it's Raimi's Terminator 2. It's kind of like Rocky 3. It's like the movie that really could bring the masses in, and they didn't have to see the things that came before it. I just think it was really good that way.
You know, the kids who loved Heathers and Princess Bride and stuff, like those kids, when I would tell them that I really liked Army of Darkness, they would then go, yeah, that's the third Evil Dead movie. And you know, they didn't say it as mean-spirited as I just said it. Yeah, hey, idiot. But they were like, you know, there's actually two other movies.
Let me
like
guess, you also like candy bars and soda.
They were really kind. And so, you know, I was able to go backwards. And although I'm not at the level of needing to see things sequentially as you and Adam are, I did see Evil Dead first. And I was kind of like, I don't know what the big deal is with this movie. It's not that good. And then I saw the second one and I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
I did realize what Sam Raimi flick I saw first in the theater, and that was The Gift. I can't believe that was all the way that.
Oh,
way.
yeah.
But
Wow.
they weren't letting me see. My parents were good parents, and they weren't letting me see a whole bunch of rated R films in theaters and stuff while I was younger. So none of that was happening too often.
Now, what do you guys think about the decision to change the name from the original Medieval Dead to the Army of Darkness?
Well, it has to do with rights issues. That's why it's called Army of Darkness. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I've never known this. So I'm going to hear this.
So, you know, Dino De Laurentiis didn't own the rights to Evil Dead, the name Evil Dead. And so to be able to sell it overseas, they needed to change the name. And
can I slow down for just a minute? You may not know the answer to this, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I would have assumed Sam Raimi owned the rights to the name.
No, because
Usually that doesn't happen.
Right. Because once you get distribution, at least when you're, you know, when you're first starting out.
Yeah, because there's, I guess, also some laws in that regard have changed here lately too. Because now we've got stuff where nobody's sure who owns the rights, the original writer, the original distributor. You know, a la like two people now have the rights to Child's Play, and nobody has the rights to Jason Voorhees at the moment. It's like a puzzle.
It's a mess.
Right. And so that's where we're at. You know, like,
okay.
So that's what he had to change the name basically, and he's not super happy with it, as you can imagine, but it is what it is. And oh man, so have either of you
in the US a title can't be copyrighted, but you mentioned it was for international distribution.
It's the international distribution that got him, because it's Dino De Laurentiis, that's where he makes all his money. It's not not domestically. So
he was the second guy known as the Italian Stallion in the 80s.
Do you guys know, have either of you ever seen the movie Crime Wave?
I have not.
No, I know of it.
Oh, Adam, so you haven't seen it either. That's amazing.
I don't think that I have. If I have, it's been so long that I've forgotten it.
You're the only person that on this podcast that I thought would have seen it, because I haven't seen it either. But it is this just awful mess of a movie, quite honestly, where it's directed by Sam Raimi and written by the Coen brothers. So you immediately would think, well, that sounds like the greatest movie ever made. And it's one of those movies that you can't bring up to Sam Raimi when he hated his experience on it. The producers chopped it all up and wanted to make a different movie. But
It's called Crime Wave.
Crime Wave. And the people who made the movie, including Sam Raimi, were like, look, even though the producers chopped up this movie, it still was a terrible movie. Like, even before they chopped it up, it was bad. And so it's one of those movies you can't really bring up around Sam Raimi because it'll turn the room ice cold when you do that. And so in the documentary, the documentarian is going around the set of Army of Darkness and everybody's having a great time, and Sam Raimi is joking around, and the documentarian, whoever it is clearly a friend of the set, said, so I hear you guys are making Crime Wave 2? And to see Sam Raimi's face tells you everything you need to know. It is such a perfect moment of like, oh no, I have totally said the wrong thing. It is amazing. And it's one of those moments where it's like, you know, like you always hear about how demanding Sam Raimi can be on set, but he's still really fun to be around. But all you ever see when you see the documentary footage of him is him being fun. But that is the one moment you get where you're like, oh, I get it now. Okay.
Man, was that like his second movie? I'm just reading about it now, and it said he got the gig because of 1981's Evil Dead.
Yes.
And co-written by the Coen brothers, Joe and Ethan Coen involved in this one.
Yep.
Yes.
They were all a bunch of stoner kids that hung out together and talked about movies and stuff. That's all those kids.
They
ever
lived
were.
together in LA.
Yeah.
Like they're friends.
And just looking at the names attached are Sam Raimi, Joel, and Ethan Coen, but the person who had to put up the money to produce it was Bruce Campbell. So that shows you like where the career trajectories were in 1985.
It is
it made $5,000 at the box office. That's not much in 1985.
It is a bad movie. Like, and it's not even a fun bad movie to watch. It's just bad. Because everybody that I know who has seen it says that they say the same thing. Like, this is the most not fun you can have watching a movie. It reminds me of the way people talk about this movie was us watching The Grim Avengers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, boy, that was not a pleasant experience.
Where it seems like it would be really fun to watch, and it's just not.
Yeah.
By the way, Crime Wave available to rent or buy on YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's
why rent when you can buy a movie like that?
It's freely out there. Oh, you can buy it in high definition too. So you're not down to that regular 480p crap. No, sorry.
Oh, finally.
You're going to the top. 1080p.
Crime Wave is one of those I'll watch on my Apple Watches.
We went back to the 16 millimeter negative for that release just in case. You never know.
So, you know, one of the things that we haven't spoken to yet is the love interest in this movie.
Yeah, because she's boring, and like you wonder why he gets attracted to her at all, because she doesn't have a whole lot going on. Just
I mean, he doesn't. It's not like he can play the field in the 13th century Europe. There,
it's like, hey, there's the one chick that's here
that have leprosy. Yeah,
Adam, you know how I mean, I can't believe you're still using the word chick, but we'll move on from that. It's also the most poorly written character in the entire movie.
Yeah.
In a movie with poorly written characters, hers is the poorest written character.
I don't know. I think she's written fine enough.
What are you talking about?
I mean, you didn't turn me off. I could deal with it.
Her name could have been just Gennaro Woman, and it would have been the same. It's the same.
She has no character. What are you talking about? So anyway,
she's like one of the Eloy.
Which lady are we talking about? Let's just slow down. Are we talking about his love interest back in the real world, or his love interest in?
No, we're not talking about Bridget Fonda. We're talking about Embeth Davids.
Yeah, Embeth Davids. She was fine. She had a complicated life.
She's a good actress. This is why I'm bringing all this up. Why I'm bringing this up is that of all of the people in this movie, she is the one that I think is trying the hardest to make her role work. I'm not. That's not true. I mean, Bruce Campbell is, but she's the second person trying the hardest to make her role work in this movie, and she has nothing to do. And and we know she's a great actress because the same year she's in Schindler's
List. Yes, I just saw that.
Well, there you go.
And I don't know why, but Sam Raimi constantly gives her all of these. Well, no, I'm sorry. No, because Sam Raimi has nothing to do with Amazing Spider-Man because she plays Peter Parker's mom in the Sony Spider-Man that isn't the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
Yeah. We got you.
Right.
Mary Parker.
Yes, she's Mary Parker.
You know, even though you don't see the beauty and the joy of her performance, Fangoria gave her a Chainsaw Award for Best Supporting Actress for Army of Darkness.
And they don't just give those out to nobody for nothing.
They don't just give out Chainsaw Awards, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think
one of those for Schindler's List. I'll just leave that out there.
I think that she did the most she could with the role she was given. Yeah. And I don't think that the script was doing her any favors in this movie.
Yeah, the stars of this script were Bruce and skeletons.
Yes, without a doubt.
Those are the stars.
And the camera.
Things.
Oh yeah, and the camera that we put on a 2x4 and still have that and again that goes all the way into the Coen Brothers world. If you look at Raising Arizona, that exact same Evil Dead shot is right in there as it's going up while they're stealing the kids at the beginning of the movie and stuff. So
yeah,
it runs deep.
Man, so good.
All right, before
I love just one more thing I'll throw in there. We talked about how there's some excellent lighting in some parts of it, how there's some excellent creativity going on here, making the most of their budget. But I kind of love just how cheap everything looks in S-Mart. Like they clearly have rented a conference room at a hotel and tried to turn it into a Walmart. I love the S-Mart stuff at the end.
Oh, what's ironic? Literally the week that we're putting out this episode, this Tuesday, the 4K remaster of Army of Darkness comes out on Blu-ray.
Oh well,
wow.
So now
it's like we planned it, which we clearly didn't.
Clearly did not. Yeah. But if you've listened to this and you're like, oh man, now what if I go out and get some Army of Darkness? Wait till tomorrow. Wait till Tuesday.
Wait till Tuesday, everyone.
Go check it all out. But before we get to our rating here, we need to find out how this movie relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone.
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Oh.
Mr. Stallone, hello. I've been doing this bit for almost 8 years now. It started when I noticed that your name kept coming up in relation to the superhero movies we were watching and naturally turned it into a running joke. At this point, 8 years in, thousands of people have contacted me telling me that it never gets old and it's amazing and I should never end a bit like this. But all good things must come to an end. And I'm here today to tell you that if you contact me, say through my Twitter account at Sean Kovacs 4, or maybe your people reach out to me or whatever, I will then end this bit and retire it on the show. Now, I know you're probably thinking to yourself, but Seansy, whatever will you do? It's the longest running bit on the podcast. And you know what, Sly? I'll figure it out. This episode starts the countdown to you. Let me start that over. This episode starts the countdown to you reaching out to me, either telling me to stop, or you like the bit, or you think it was a great idea when it all started, but we kept it going 4 years too long. Whatever the case, today starts day one. Now, you're probably not surprised to hear this, but there were 44 people employed in the special effects department on Army of Darkness. And one of those people was a sculptor and special effects makeup artist, Manuel Beccaro. Mr. Beccaro started his movie career in the 1990 movie Bride of Reanimator, which is a movie I didn't know existed, but I'm not a horror fan. Now, Manuel has worked on some pretty big movies in his career, movies like Quantum of Solace, Zombieland, and The Walking Dead, just to name a few. And I'm always amazed at people's careers who've been in the business for as long as Mr. Beccaro, because he worked on Gremlins 2, The New Batch, but he also worked on The Suicide Squad, which is a movie you're in. I was in high school when The New Batch came out, and now I've been working at the Cracker Factory for 25 years, and yet there's Manuel Beccaro still plugging away. Now, I don't know how apocryphal this story is, but word is James Gunn got you to voice the role of King Shark by calling you and saying, I wrote this role for you in the Suicide Squad. It won't take too much of your time. And you replied, oh, yeah? To which Gunn said, yeah, it's a big kind of chubby human eating shark. To which you said, anything for you, brother. Now I need to know, Mr. Stallone, is that true? Because I hope it is. I'd also like you to refer to me as brother when you finally reach out to me, even if it's go F yourself, brother. Well, that's the Stallone connection this week. Sculptor and makeup effects guy, Manuel Baccaro. I hope to hear from you soon, like next week, maybe. Your pal, Sweet Shawnsy from the internet.
I bet Hulk Hogan would call you brother.
Yeah.
Hope so.
Yeah, if he didn't, like that'd be the biggest letdown. All right, here at Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. Bruce, where does Army of Darkness fall on the Robin rating system for you?
Army of Darkness is not my favorite movie of all time.
What?
That I don't know why. Like it probably should be. Like all the math is there. Like all the parts are there. Like this should be the perfect movie for me. It's definitely something like I could daydream about. Like I want the effects to be schlocky, but you're not to care. You know, like it's the kind of thing I daydream about. But there's no way I can give this less than a Dick Grayson. This is one of the favorite movies of my lifetime.
Very nice. Sean?
Oh, yeah, it's a Dick Grayson, man. I mean, I've loved this movie forever. You know, like Bruce says, it's not the perfect movie. And there's something about it that, at least for me, I forget about it. You know, it's one of those movies, like it doesn't stick to you. But boy, I love it. So it's a Dick Grayson for me.
Here's a way so we won't forget about it anymore, Sean. Whenever somebody asks you to do something you don't want to do, say, I'd love to, but I'm watching Army of Darkness that night. And that'll keep it in your mind.
I'm watching Army of Darkness that night, Ken. No can do.
You doing what?
Could you pick me up from the hospital when I get out for my cancer treatments? I'd love to, but I'm watching Army of Darkness.
She's like, Army of Darkness is like 88 minutes. What's the deal?
I watch it on loop, my friend.
Man, this movie is a cool 88 minutes, man. That is one of the best things about this movie.
Oh, it just books along. It's nice and quick for you. For me,
hopped up on adrenaline after the movie. I'm not allowed to leave the house for at least 3 days.
Hi, Tim Drake for me. I really enjoy it. The only reason it doesn't go higher is just honestly Evil Dead 2 is just like kind of a masterpiece and is going to get that kind of just top spot. But for what it is, I really enjoy this. I liked it more this time around than I have previous times in the past because it always seemed like the lesser of those. But there's a lot of good stuff to recommend this thing. And, you know, if you're in the market yet again, there's another edition of a Blu-ray coming out, so fork over some more money. But if
him and Lucas, right?
But if you miss it, don't worry. Another 6 to 9 months down the road, there's going to be yet another one. So Scream Factory will put the next one out, I'm sure, something along those lines. So, but that is it, everybody. That will do it for this episode of Hero Movie Podcast. We'll talk about what we're doing next in just a moment. Meantime, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I'd love for people to check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/Bruce Leslie. I will be within a few days finishing up the final episodes of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, an anime that IGN says is the greatest anime of all time. So you might want to see me react to that big finale over there. You can look for that coming up this week. And check out Anime IO. It's always fun over there on the podcast.
Quite the statement, IGN. My goodness. Sean, what else?
Bruce, can I ask you a question about that? When you say that you have a reaction video, is it like a camera pointed at your face as you're watching it?
Yes.
I see.
And I would say I think my reaction videos are unlike anybody else's. Mine probably are closer to MST3K or more like a commentary track than actually like the people who just make big eyes and say, oh my goodness, over and over again.
And Bruce has done it.
You know, that works for him, but I can't just like sit there and react that way. I have to talk nonstop when the camera and the microphone's around.
But Bruce also does it nude. That's what sets him apart from other people. He doesn't like to talk about that. I mean, it is what sells it.
The thing is, YouTube hasn't even noticed yet. That's what makes me sick.
I don't know. Should I be offended? What is this?
I think I'm wearing a bear suit.
Sean, what else?
We have a show called Andor 30 Questions, which we will be doing right after we're finished recording this, where we ask 30 questions of each new episode of the television show Andor. So show up for that. And please enjoy it as much as we enjoy it.
And that will do it, everybody. Next week, we are going to continue on with our Scary October, whatever the hell we're calling it.
Super
scary October. You wrote it down.
Scary, I said I was going to write it down, yet here we are. We're going to
But
be.
boy,
Go ahead.
you're such a procrastinator, Adam, that at some point you're probably like, I'm going to kill myself, but the gun's all the way over there.
Yeah, it is. It's all the way across the room. Tough luck for me. guess it's another day of this. Next week we're going to be talking about Puppet Master. Oh, let me tell you, there are so many comic connections and stuff, and so much because I've just read Charles Band's book.
Nice.
We've got so much to talk about for Puppet Master next week, and so much so that I went through and I purchased a year of the Full Moon app.
Get out of here.
Here's the deal. It was $60. It paid for an entire year. Plus, they're like, you can get 10 Blu-rays off of our website. I'm like, for $60? Shoot, why not? So,
Are Blu-rays getting to be like the new vinyl?
in a lot of ways.
They'll get there.
We'll get there soon enough. So we'll be covering Puppet Master next week, everybody. That will do it for Sweet Sean Zakovac from the internet. Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Fortress. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.
I'm gonna